All right, welcome everybody to the 2023 Motorsports Sponsorship Summit. Today, we are filming live from Mechanicswear in Valencia. Special shout out to Michael Hale, Jesse Spungen, Sean Doffner for helping to make this happen. Look at this set, and yes, that is Dale's original car. How cool is this? I have to say, this is probably one of the coolest offices that I've ever been in, Mechanicswear's new headquarters, and I feel very blessed that we got to do it here. So Jesse, thank you. I think you're online. You're going to join us here in a second.
Yeah, thank you, Alex.
Yeah, it's really cool, man. And then we're going to head over to Supercross after this. So several of us will be at A1. How fun is that? Guys, today we're here to, the goal is to help racers learn what brands and companies want from sponsorships so that it helps teams, promoters, series, racers, drivers make more money from sponsorship. So the goal is for you to walk away with a better understanding of the business of sponsorships, because there is a logical process that you can do, which will help you ensure that you get a little bit more money if you understand what brands want. So we have 6 sessions, doing it a little bit different from last year. Last year we had hour-long sessions and it went pretty long. We have 6 30-minute sessions this time around. We're going to start with why do brands sponsor and how do they calculate ROI? Then we're going to go to promoting yourself and your sponsors through the media. And there's many types of media, so it's interesting. It's different from what it was just 10 years ago. We're going to talk about activating at events to increase brand value. Remember, if you can't increase sales, you can increase equity value, which raises revenue. So you can activate to create more integrity and value for a brand by giving it better reputation. We are going to talk about how to create decks that attract attention and how to write proposals that sell sponsorships. There's a difference between decks and proposals. We talk about it all the time. We'll go over it. We're going to also talk about 2 new sessions. After we do these summits, we hold reviews and assessments. And there's been a lot of requests for how do I get a tire sponsor? How do I get wheel sponsors? And also, how do I find sponsors in the first place? So we've added 2 sessions. 1, finding tire and wheel sponsors, and 2, networking. Networking is probably a big one. So before we get started, everybody knows that we've had some very unfortunate circumstances and we've lost several people in racing. And I originally wanted to do 43 seconds of silence for Ken Block for obvious reasons, but then it was brought to my attention, we lost Greg Cazzo, a very good friend of mine. We lost Robbie Pierce, another good friend of mine, and many people in the industry. So I'm going to turn this over to George for 1 second so we can take a moment and recognize our friends. George, is your mic on?
Thank you very much, Alex, for doing that. We really appreciate the motorsports community sticking together. Everybody in the motorsports industry has understood that we all stick together for the future of the sport and the future of growth in the industry. And we really, really love that all of these people understand that we're doing stuff like the summit to be able to help other people. Everybody that unfortunately has passed away, like you said, Cazzo, Ken Block, Robbie Pierce, all of those guys were very focused on making the industry a better place and really focusing on other people. So we got to commend them for that, right? They put a lot of effort and a lot of thought in everything that they did in their life. And we're going to be truly missing them. But we know that they would want us to continue on the summit and to keep progressing the industry forward. So really appreciate it. Want everybody to give their family a hug and appreciate everything going forward. And we'll have a great 2023. So back to you, Alex. Thank you.
Thanks, George. Guys, for those of you who watch the Meet the Sponsor webinars and have watched some of the other summits, you know that we just jump right in. So can we line up our first panelists? For the first session, we have why brands sponsor and how do they calculate ROI if they do. A lot of brands don't. We have Ben Dolan, Vice President of Marketing, VP Racing Fuels. David Cardy from Eibach. We're there. We got Ben up. Okay. David's National Sales Manager, Eibach Springs. We have Jackie Donahue, NGK Spark Plugs. Jackie's a new panelist. I'm looking forward to speaking with her about this because, Jackie, I'll have a question for you, see if you can answer it. And of course, Jesse Spungen, who is the president of Mechanicswear. Jesse, thank you. He's in the office next door. Thank you so much for letting us use these facilities. What a cool backdrop. There's Jackie. There's Jackie. Hi, Jackie. Jackie, you're gonna have to tell me later what the B8ES stands for. It's a plug that I've been using since the 70s with my 2-strokes. The
Okay.
NGK. All right. But let's start with Jesse. Jesse, thanks for letting us use your spot here. Mechanics Wear obviously is very integrated into motorsports. As you can see with the car behind me on the wall. What is the reason a brand like a glove brand would get into racing and sponsor? Why do you do it?
Yeah, thank you, Alex. You know, racing is inherent to the brand and its DNA because it was born out of racing. We've been a company around for over 30 years. Jim Hale actually founded the company. It was a spinoff out of Axo Motorcycle Apparel. If people want to learn more about the story, you can go to our website and read about it. But you know, we've been sponsoring racers. We've been sponsoring NASCAR, NHRA, motocross, et cetera, around the world, by the way, because we're a global company. And so the product was actually invented out of a need for race mechanics to have a better experience and better hand protection. So we invented the high performance cut and sew premium category of hand protection. That's mechanics wear. A lot of people copy us, but there's only one original. And that's us in Valencia, California. So, you know, that's why we do it. It's inherent in our blood. And from there, we went into the federal tactical space. We went to the commercial industrial space. And that's why you see our gloves in movies with Mark Wahlberg, to at a job site in an oil and gas environment, right? So we're just very thankful to be here. We're also very thankful to be able to host Alex and the team. And excited that he could be in our lobby. And you're absolutely right. That's Dale Hart Jr.'s car in our wall. The other one we donated to the Peterson Museum. You know, just really happy and excited to be here. So thank you all.
And thank you for the suggestion. You know what? We may do the next summit from the Peterson Museum. How cool would that be? That might be a neat.
We'll do it right next to our other car. How about that?
That would be cool, huh? Sounds good. All right, next up, we have Jackie Donahue from NGK Spark Plugs. Jackie, how are you? Thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing some insight. Back in the 70s, I had a 2-stroke motorcycle I've been riding forever, and the B8ES and then B8ES or ER for the restrictor. I've been using NGK plugs my entire motorcycle career, so thank you.
That's awesome. And I get a lot of people when I meet them, they're like, oh my gosh, they tell me stories about how they've been using them since, you know, they were little kids, and it's a great brand. I don't actually have any issues selling NGK. Our brand's very strong. But yeah, I mean, I've been in the racing and the sponsorship portion of this for 5 years. And it's, I mean, we've always been ingrained. We did a lot of motorcycle, like you said, but we kind of stepped away a little bit from that. And we've been doing some of the newer stuff. So we got really into drift this year and last year. And we obviously were involved in drag racing, but we kind of dabble in all of it, you know, tractor pulling, whatever. Everyone needs spark plugs, right? But with our new brands, with NTK sensors, and we also do ignition coils, we're really trying to push that product. And I know a lot of the racing community doesn't use all of that, but a lot of them do. So just trying to get brand awareness out on those 2 product lines.
Right on, right on. Thank you.
Thank you.
And David, iBox Springs. It's pretty obvious, I guess. I think when I heard you on the ePart Trade race week, if I correct me on the numbers here, but I'm going to go by memory. I think you said 80% of motorsport sales go through California for iBox. Is that correct? That certainly would explain why iBox Springs is in racing. David, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Here I am.
How are you?
First of all, thank you for having me on here. It's a great panel, by the way. I'm actually at my kid's go-kart race right now, and actually using mechanics wear and NGK plugs right now. So
No way.
pretty cool to be part of that with this panel. But yeah, IBOC obviously we're a global brand, been around for over 70 years. We started off Wilford IBOC making race springs, and that's what we're, I guess, synonymous for. We've transitioned over the years into performance street lowering kits. Now we're heavily involved in lift kits and shocks. sway bars. We do a lot more things than just the race springs. But yeah, I would say, we race everything here in the United States. So our market is much bigger than the rest of the world. So yeah, probably 80% of the racing springs that we make come out of Corona, California. So some of the metric stuff and whatnot for the European markets come out of Germany. But yeah, we make 80% of the world's racing springs right here in California.
Right on, right on. So next up, Ben Dolan, Vice President of Marketing for VP Racing Fuels. I've known Ben for a while. He's attended a couple summits, thank you, and been on Meet the Sponsors. Ben, you once told me that some of the best parts about sponsorship are not what you plan and schedule, but it's the unplanned stuff. It's the stuff that you didn't expect. And you have a good example on Vital MX and the slow motion jump.
Yeah, we actually this year, when I was looking back at what performed the best for us as far as engagement and reach, adjusted ad value, it was actually all of our top performers were unplanned pieces. So it was a great piece of awareness for us in the data to know that as we talk here, what's really important is not the minimum things that are in the contract that we're looking for from an athlete or from a series, but it's all the other things that they do to add value that are actually the gravy that keeps us coming back year after year. So, we've been doing this for 48 years. And as you know, the last 10 years, 11 years, as we've expanded into lubricants, coolant, additives, appearance products, other consumer products, a lot of people still only know us for fuel. And so it's that ancillary stuff that helps spread the word that's really important for us.
Yeah. Right on. Awesome. Thank you. And now, last but not least, is my partner in this, the co-host, Tony Yorkman. Tony, are you there? I know he was having a good time last night at Disneyland, so he might be a little tired this morning. Where's Tony?
Oh, there we go.
That's funny. We have so many people on this
good.
call, it's hard to find you.
Yeah. Good morning. Yes, I'm a little groggy from hanging out with them. Little groggy from hanging out with the mouse and enjoying some family time, but ready to go.
So I know Tony from K&N Filters. He used to run marketing for K&N for almost 2 decades, and he comes here with more experience, 10 times more experience than I have in motorsports and sponsorship. So as a co-host, Tony and I hope to be able to pull out from all of our panelists what we hope that you could use to learn to raise more money. And Tony, do you have any thoughts on the first set of panelists on ROI? Did K&N calculate ROI? We're going to jump into, do brands calculate ROI? How do you calculate it? And if so, or if not, how do you know if sponsorship is working? How did you know if they were working at K&N?
Well, there's definitely different ways to follow your ROI, and there's tables out there. There's pieces that will give you measurements. Say a company like a Hookit, which will actually measure your media coverage and give you more like dollar valuations on things. But K&N's biggest focus on what worked for ROI was more about the activations and the cohesiveness of what they did with either their products or their partners. Whether it was a program that supported a specific retailer of ours or a dealer of some sort, or if it was something that was more of a campaign or a push for new products or even existing products that had a re-push into the market. And it was just how we were able to put some more emphasis on, the products. But again, it became more of a one way, whether it was a consumer sales or if it was a customer sales and so on. But ROI is a tricky thing, especially in motorsports, as we've all learned, that it's really tough to do it. There's, again, services like a Hookit that help you show a little bit more. It's all relative in those ways, but it really has to go with how it's supporting your agenda, right? Alex, you've heard me say this on multiple panels that my famous quote is, always find those opportunities that fit your plan instead of building a plan around those opportunities. And I know Jesse, as my former leader, has heard me say that a number of times himself. And that's kind of one of the things that we've always followed. And so we do look for people that have opportunities that match our plans.
Mhm. Tony, real quick, are you logged in Zoom under a different name? George is looking for you. There's a lot of attendees on the call. And we're trying to
I
pin
was
you in.
having problem in the hotel with the Wi-Fi, and I I logged in the same account at the same time, so that might have caused a little bit of an issue.
All right, Tammy's going to figure it
But
out.
I should be still underneath it was the same account. I just ended up opening up another chat on my cell phone instead of the
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Wi-Fi on the
So-
laptop.
There he is. Yay. All right. So you mentioned Jesse. You used to work with Jesse. Jesse, prior to being with Mechanics, where was the president of K&N Filters. Jesse, what differences do you notice between an endemic brand, parts brand, like a filter company? Obviously, it's very endemic, very car related, automotive aftermarket, versus a glove brand where you're across many different industries, not just motorsports, but also military and a variety. How do you notice the difference in sponsorships, or is there a difference?
Well, hats off to K&N, because I think they've extended into filtration for data centers, as I saw the latest press release from them.
Wow.
So, but I think, Mechanics we're very much obviously into the entire racing industry, but we also really care a lot about the mechanics and the people working on the car, right? Think about it, right? Mechanics was born out of helping the driver actually win through the race team, through all the mechanics working on the vehicle. So I think that's a big difference. We're actually working on the car in its entirety. And then of course, K&N is helping the vehicles in specific ways around more airflow and more horsepower, et cetera. So I think, that's one unique way. And I think for me, that's an interesting concept for all the different brands and people that are looking to interact with brands, is exactly your point, Alex, right? What is the purpose of the role of the brand in the racing environment? Because they are different. I mean, that's a perfect example you just called out between K&N and Mechanics Wear, right? And it was just called out, we're at the go-kart track, and we got Mechanics Wear gloves on our hands because we want that car to go faster.
Nice. Thanks. So Ben, you and I've talked many times about sponsorships, and we've gone into this. I think my lights went out, huh? Motion sensor. There we go. And do you sponsor teams so that they will put your logo on their helmet, their race suit, and their car? Is it about the logo exposure, or why does
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
we talk about
that's
that
always
a lot.
that's always our hot topic, right? Because it's no longer about brand recognition for us. We talk a lot about the buyer's journey, and what we're looking for is not awareness level content in certain markets. We're looking for consideration decision level content. So athlete, a series, someone that's sponsored, even lookalike audiences, people like Cowboy Cerrone and UFC that works with us. He's getting into racing, but he has a great lookalike audience there for our other consumer products. Creating awareness, creating content, things that help with the buyer's journey, that's beyond just a logo on a car or on a helmet or on the sleeve. That's where the value is. That's we've already talked a little bit about Hook It here. We use Hook It and other things to measure and look at the analytics on how it moves the needle, how it influences sales. So it's really about being beyond the logo on the car in most cases. In the case of some emerging markets, we still have some awareness to do. And particularly, we are a global brand, but there are certainly global markets that we need greater awareness. But certainly domestically and with most of our athletes, we're doing that to create awareness of the other things beyond fuel and beyond just the brand.
And then real quick, do you calculate ROI?
So we do, we use a few things, one of them being Hook It, of course, with looking at the adjusted ad value, but we're looking at the promotional quality score. We're looking at what are they doing that's purposeful for us. So it's a few videos that are done that we can repurpose that maybe are testimonial in style or explainer that we can use beyond. So it's helping us reach our audience. It's helping us reach an extended audience that we might not otherwise have access to. It's helping educate. It lives forever. We had hundreds of millions of views on branded video over the course of 2022. So you think about the tens of thousands of hours of watch time
Yeah.
That's really important. As the education happens, people understand how VP helps make more power. And so it's that's the value. That's the added value
Cool. Thank
for
you.
us.
That makes sense. And then Jackie, with NGK, do you calculate ROI, or what is it that you look for in teams when you go to sponsor teams? Anything specific, like if there's a driver or racer on the call right now that is looking to potentially get sponsored by NGK, what would bring them to your attention that they can do to help NGK?
So the ROI is like the kryptonite, right? I cannot never measure it. And we don't sell to consumers. So to do, trying to figure out if racers are moving the needle with sales, it's very difficult. And a lot of our racing sponsorship has been brand awareness, but I don't really need to make people aware of spark plugs, especially NGK spark plugs. We're saturated. So
Okay.
we launched a different program last year, and I have to fill the gaps. We're a small marketing team. So when racers come up like at PRI and they're like, hey, how can we help NGK? Like Ben said, it's more than the logo, right? So I need content. How can you help me make content regarding Shop Squad? So Shop Squad is a new program that we started this year that we target technicians, and it's a learning and resource program for technicians. So what can you provide to me exclusive to this group of people? And I've gotten tons of ideas. So, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for like, hey, how can you help me with sensors? You guys are all using our plugs. How can we get awareness on that we make oxygen sensors, that we make 6,500 other sensors?
Wow.
How can you get information out about ignition coils? And I want them to use the product too. So it helps if they're able to use the product on their race car or their car at home or whatever, and really give that like very authentic message. So those are the things that I do. I did invest in Hook It, not exactly Hook It. And we invested in Zoom.
Okay.
But for us, I had a hard time measuring that because a lot of the folks that we sponsor, they don't have business accounts. And
okay.
I can't follow that. So for me, it was a waste of money. So I stopped using Hook It or Zoom, and I just, stopped, they do the hashtags, I follow that. But as far as like measuring some of that stuff, I was spending like $30,000 with Hook It and not really getting any good reports that I could use.
Right.
So
I think we have someone that might need to mute their microphone. You muted? Okay, George muted. Thank you, George. That makes sense, Jackie. So you don't sell to retail, you sell to retailers. Therefore,
yeah.
The brand message has to be communicated through the retailer to the end customer.
Yeah. And one really cool thing, and I don't know about the other brands on the call here on the panel, but for NGK, when a retailer goes, buys product through us, we have what we call co-op, and we take those funds, they spend X amount of dollars, they get so much money back. And we call that now marketing partnership funds. We take that money and we use that to work together for marketing. And I've been able to take that money and kind of refocus it on sponsorship. So where we haven't been able to sponsor, or if like I saw Don O'Neill here, Don O'Neill wants to come up. I'm like, oh, Don, I can't sponsor you this year, but can you help me with this retailer? And I can pull those funds and give him money for sponsorship, but then he can help me with like AutoZone. How can we drive sales to AutoZone for plugs or sensors? So there's some creative ways like that we can move money around to still do sponsorship, and it benefits, us and AutoZone or us and Advance or whoever.
Yes, all your partners. That makes sense. And then when sponsorship is a partnership, it works so much better. When there's the brand, the retailer, and then of course the brand ambassador, the team or the rider that represents the brand through the retailer. That makes a lot of sense. Let's go to David real quick. David with iBox Springs. I'm assuming that's the same thing, as you're looking more for sales and performance, and you probably have, being an endemic brand and aftermarket parts, you're looking for transfer of technology, I would assume, and where you learn from the teams how to make the parts better for retail.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a a lot going on. I always like to start with the, the macro and look at the word sponsorship and racing when we're looking for people that we're going to partner with. I actually don't like to use the word sponsorship because the definition of sponsorship is to fund someone's and a team or a person's endeavor. I don't know about you, but I got plenty of stuff I can support myself or my son. I don't need to be handing out money to people. So I like to, we like to use the word partnership.
Partnership.
Yeah. And then it's the same with racing. Racing in general, there's a big difference between Formula One and dirt track racing in Iowa. So, we really got to get a little more granular when we're looking at this. Obviously we like to track as much as we can, but there are certain forms of racing and certain groups that just is a little more untrackable. How do they make an impact in their local area? Obviously we like to sell springs everywhere across the country, and we're dealing with every form of racing. So it gets a little bit difficult to track across the board. We do the best we can with tools and whatnot to track that. But there's also, the local guy in his area could be a big influence. So, we don't like, and it's the same in reverse, a person that we're going to go after and partnership with, they should have a good knowledge of our company and vice versa. If a company, I've seen some of our competitors out there and saying, we're sponsoring, come sign up. Well, what does that say about them? They're looking for the absolute minimum probably to give you in looking for the biggest return. So, it's the same in reverse for us. Obviously, we're looking for someone we can partner with that's going to give us the best bang for the buck. So the more they know about our company, the more they know about, how they can be an influence in their area. Whatever that may be. Maybe it's social media. Maybe it's maybe they're an advocate for the company and their local market or whatever the case may be. But they need to be invested in the company. You need to treat it as a partnership, and we're not just giving you money. You need to look at how you can stand out and be different. So I heard someone else say, which was actually a great piece of advice, is maybe it's not in your area. We're pretty, I wouldn't say saturated, but we're very well known in the racing world. So maybe outside of that world, you can be a bigger influence. So I thought that was a great piece of advice, and we look for the same thing. We try and venture out of our normal circles and find a way we can reach a broader group.
I see that. And Ben and I have talked about this several times, that you don't necessarily need to be in racing anymore to represent a sponsor. And so thanks, David. Real quick, let's go to all the panelists. I think we only have a minute or two left. If a team was looking to represent your brand, are you looking, and how do they approach you? What advice would you have to a racer who wants sponsorship? Let's start with VP. I guess let's start with iBox, since you're still on the screen there. David, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Sorry.
If a team wanted to be sponsored by iBox, how do they approach you? What would they look for? Or what is their next step?
Yeah, so you can go to our website, ibach.com. That's the first place, you can enter all your information or whatnot. You can always call us, see us at the track or whatnot. But you sent us someone our way, Jason Coleman. We get a ton of people who sign up and whatnot. So, making yourself stand out is going to be the key. So whatever information you can put on there, to make yourself look a little bit different or whatnot, but don't just stop there. You need to get a hold of someone, you need to talk to someone, and you need to plead your case, because just putting in the information is great, but we get a list of those things. So somehow we got to, vet them out. So.
Got it. Thank you. And then Ben, if someone wanted to approach VP, what is the process?
So it's and you and I have talked about this briefly before. It's unusual that we would ever sponsor someone that we don't have a relationship with. So typically we're at the races, we're in all forms of motorsports. Our company, our people live those same values as the racers. So that's our culture. So chances are it's going to start with a relationship at the local level. We have regional offices that'll do product sponsorships, things of that nature. I don't think it's ever happened that at the corporate level, we've sponsored someone that just out of the blue pitched us something that we've never heard of them before. If you, as David said, if you're standing out, if you're doing things that are unique, and you're adding value elsewhere, we're gonna notice you, and we're either gonna approach you or we're gonna have some dialogue going already. So it
Get to
starts
know
with
you
a
first.
relationship, usually at the local level, as you're building your brand and as you're building your presence. But then in the pitch, obviously, once there is that relationship and conversation, being able to show how you can add value and be an extension of our team. Just as Jackie said, our teams are typically not big. So what can you do as an extension of our team to create content and add value? So those are the things we look for.
That's really important. And then we'll head to Jesse, and then let's pull Tony up as well, since he'll head the next session. Becoming an extension of a brand's marketing is key. That's what you do if you want to represent that brand. That's why they call team riders and sponsored athletes brand ambassadors, because you are an ambassador for that brand. So you need to represent that brand and conduct marketing for them on their behalf, even when they're not at the event. You're at the event on their behalf because they're not sending employees there. So good call on that. Thanks for that, Ben. We have Jesse up. Jesse.
Yeah. Sorry,
One final thing here. Thank you again. We're going to head. So you used to work with Tony, and let's pull Tony up as well. Obviously, sponsoring companies in racing has a lot to do, or has more to do than just logos. It's not about the logo again on the car. It's about the activating and what you can do on behalf of the company. And our next session is promoting yourselves and sponsors through the media. Jesse, thank you again for letting us use your facility here on a Saturday morning. How cool is that? You got up early to open this place. That was awesome. And it is probably the coolest office, the layout and the most classy and tastefully decorated office I've been in. I mean, this is really nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.